which we are going to discuss and completely end it. So we have seen that finally the grandmother, by the dint of her dedication and strong will, succeeds in learning to read and write on the proposed date, that was Saraswati Puja day during the Shara time. And the narrator gives her a novel, Kashi Yatra. There for exchange of gifts taking place, and in return, uh, the grandmother gives the narrator the frock material. Both touches each other's feet as a mark of respect. The grandmother touches the feet of her granddaughter, 12-year granddaughter, as a mark of respect for being her teacher, excellent teacher, and in return, the granddaughter touches the feet of her grandmother as a mark of respect to her being her grandmother. And finally, she succeeds with flying colors, means she succeeds in learning to read and write very well. Now, the basic thing is, what was the theme of the story? How I taught my grandmother. Chapter we have finished. Hmm. This you have done. True, false we did. Okay. Hmm. This we did. Now, theme. Theme or message of the story. So आप लोग हमेशा ध्यान रखिए, keep always in mind that whichever story you study, whichever novel you study or read, you should be knowing the theme or the basic message. There's one basic message, common message or theme for the readers. So here, what is the theme of the story? Come on, according to me, there are two strong themes coming out. Let me see. Hmm. First one is, it is never too late to learn. First theme, it is never too late to learn, because we have seen that in the story at the age of 62, a weak old woman, the grandmother of Sudhamurti, decides to learn to read, and finally she succeeds. So it is never too late to learn. And second, why she wanted to learn to read and write? Why she wanted to be educated? Just remember, she felt dependent at that time when there was nobody to read the story for her. So in order to be independent. So education brings independence to your lives. So education brings independence to our lives. Why? Why? Reason. So we should know the reason also. Reason. It is because it is because in the story the grandmother manages to learn to read and write at the age of 62 by her determination in order to become what? In order to become independent. So there are two possible themes, best themes coming out of the story. One, it is never too late to learn. पहला कि पढ़ने सीखने की कोई उम्र नहीं होती. एंड दूसरा, सेकंड, एजुकेशन ब्रिंग्स इंडिपेंडेंस टू आवर लाइव्स. एजुकेशन हमें स्वतंत्र बनाती है, इंडिपेंडेंट बनाती है. एंड रीजन, because it is because in the story the grandmother, one wait minute, 1 minute. Because in the story, the grandmother manages to learn to read and write at the age of 62. 62 की एज में ग्रैंडमदर पढ़ना लिखना सीखती है. How? By her determination. किस लिए? In order to become independent. So this is the theme and this is the answer, means reason supporting the theme. So always remember, when you write the theme of the story or message, you should support it with one good reason. I hope this is clear to you. There's no doubt. In case of any doubt, again I say that you feel free to post your question, to ask me directly, and I'm always there to help you out, to answer your queries. Next, okay, true false we did yesterday. Now look at this extract. Now we are going to do extract. Read the extracts given below and answer the questions that follow. The extracts given, we also call it referring to context. These are extracts from the story. You have to go through it and answer the questions that are given in the book. Like, when I came back to my village, I saw my grandmother in tears. I was surprised, for I had never seen her cry in the most difficult situations. What had happened? I was worried. Why this we did? Is everything all right? Are you okay? I used to call her Abba, which means mother in the Kannada spoken in North Karnataka. She nodded but did not reply. I did not understand and forgot about it. In the night after dinner, we were sleeping in the open terrace of our house. It was a summer night and there was a full moon. Abba and came and sat with her affectionate hand touched my forehead. Now till here. Complete the following sentence with the appropriate option. The phrase never seen her cry in the most difficult situations tells us that the grandmother was. Now this phrase which is mentioned in the extract, that the narrator says no, that she had never seen her grandmother cry in the most difficult situation. Even in the most difficult situations, her grandmother never cried. So what does this shows about that old lady? About what does it show about the grandmother? So there are three options given. You have to choose one out of them. Out of three, you have to choose one correct option. First is strong-willed, that she was strong-willed lady, understanding and considerate or bold. So the narrator had never seen her grandmother cry in the most difficult situations. It means that she was a strong-willed lady. Strong-willed lady. Next, complete the following with the correct option from those given in the brackets. From the brackets, we have to choose the correct option. Grandmother did not reply when the narrator asked if she was all right, because she might have been too. Means when the narrator asks her grandmother that is everything right, Abba, then the grandmother did not reply. Why? Because she might have been too what? She might have been too dashed to respond. Two options, emotional or tired. So tired to she never was. Only option left is emotional. So she might have been too emotional to respond. Identify the clue from the extract that indicates a rural setting with traditional customs. Clue from the extract that indicates a rural setting. See, there are two, three things important in the story. One is setting. Setting means the atmosphere where the story has been set. Whether it is in city, the story has been constructed in the city atmosphere, village atmosphere, or hilly area, that surrounding. Then characters, then basic plot, then ending. All these are the important part of the story. So in the story, it is being asked that in what means you have to give a clue that the story has been set in rural atmosphere, rural surrounding. Rural means village surrounding. So what clue we can give? So the clue is that when the narrator says that in the night after dinner, they were sleeping on the roof terrace or on the terrace roof. So this on the open, or on the open terrace, open terrace of the house. So when the narrator says that in the night after dinner they were sleeping on the open terrace of the house, it means that the story has a rural setting, because in city we hardly see people sleeping on the open terrace. Which lines of the extract establish a tender atmosphere? Not this one. Which lines of the extract establish a tender atmosphere? When she says that, when the narrator says that Avva came and sat next to her, her affectionate hands, affectionate, caring, loving, affectionate hands touched her forehead. This. So this is the tender atmosphere. Tender means very soft and emotional atmosphere. Tender relationship, very caring relationship, like the relationship between a mother and son, daughter and father, like this. Tender atmosphere. So when the grandmother comes and sits next to the narrator and touches her forehead with her hand, affectionate hands. Now, I hope this is all clear to you. Students, keep on noting down it, take a note of it, so that during examination time or any time of need, you just have to just open it and revise it. You can get all the matter at one place. Keep on noting down. Next, which of the following aspect is not emphasized in the given extract? इनमें से कौन सा गिवन एक्सट्रैक्ट में नहीं है? The emotional turmoil of grandmother, ये तो है. Grandmother was very emotional. She started crying. The affectionate bond between the narrator and her grandmother, that also is shown. ये भी दिखाई पड़ता है. The grandmother's regret over a lack of education. The narrator's concern for her grandmother. चार ऑप्शन है, बताइए. इस एक्सट्रैक्ट की बात मैं कर रहा हूँ. द प्रीवियस एक्सट्रैक्ट जो रेड, उसमें इनमें से कौन सा पॉइंट नहीं मिलता है? तो इमोशनल टर्मोइल मिलता है, ग्रैंडमदर क्राइंग. अफेक्शनेट बॉन्ड बिटवीन द narrator and the granddaughter मिलता है. Grandmother goes and touches the feet of the forehead of the granddaughter, and granddaughter also asks that what is happened, grandmother, why you are crying. The grandmother's regret over her lack of education, यहाँ ये ग्रैंडमदर यहाँ पे नहीं दिखाती है, यहाँ उनको पछतावा नहीं होता है. देन द नरेटर्स कंसर्न फॉर हर ग्रैंडमदर, नरेटर को कंसर्न होता है, वो दिखाई पड़ता है. यहाँ पे नरेटर्स कंसर्न अबाउट हर ग्रैंडमदर, क्योंकि जब वो ग्रैंडमदर जाती है तो उसे पूछती है व्हाट हैपेंड. सो द ग्रैंडमदर्स रिग्रेट ओवर द लैक ऑफ एजुकेशन, दिस पॉइंट is not highlighted in this extract. Next, next extract. I have decided I want to learn the Kannada alphabet from tomorrow onwards. I will work very hard. I will keep Saraswati Puja Day during Dashera as the deadline. Deadline, I told you, the last date. Like in school, the teachers gives you a deadline that by deadline for the submitting of the project is such and such date, 19th of July or 14th of May. After that, the project work will not be submitted. The assignment will not be submitted. So deadline is given. So she also gives allots a deadline to herself in order to learn to read and write with full dedication by that time. That day I should be able to read a novel on my own. She takes a pledge. अपने आप से वादा करती है वो. I want to be independent. क्योंकि उन्हें independent बना था, किसी के ऊपर dependent नहीं होना था. ये बड़ी अच्छी बात है. I saw the determination on her face. The editor says that she saw the determination on the face of her grandmother. Yet I laughed at her. फिर उसको हंसती है वो. क्यों हंसती है? Because she was 12-year-old girl and she was unable to understand the seriousness of a 62-year, the pain, the turmoil, emotional turmoil of the 62-year-old lady. Why at this age of 62 you want to learn the alphabet? All your hair is grey, your hands are wrinkled, you wear spectacles and you work so much in the kitchen. So when will you get time to learn? Childishly means in a childish manner because she was child already. Childishly I made fun of the old lady, but she just smiled. Like you people make fun of your teachers in the school, in the class, but teacher smiles and moves on because the teacher knows that you are in that age only. So after some time when you grow up, then you will realize and automatically you come back to the teacher and touch the feet of your teacher and say that, sorry sir, sorry ma'am, we used to behave like that. It happens. We all do like that and we all have done. But she just smiled. For a good cause, if you are determined, you can overcome any obstacle. So the grandmother said that, yes, for any good cause, if one is determined, one is firm in his or her decision, then anything could be achieved. I will work harder than anybody, but I will do it for learning. For learning, there is no age bar. She said that at any cost, she'll learn to read, and there is no age bar for learning. This is your extract. What now? The question following the extract. Now pay attention. Let me see how much you have studied and how much you have understood. What does the grandmother's statement, I want to be independent, reveal about her character? She says that she wanted to be independent. What does it shows about her character? ये उनके character के बारे में क्या बताता है? Yes, she wanted to be literate. तीन options हैं. She desires self sufficiency. मतलब independent बनना चाहती थी, self sufficient होना चाहती थी. She wants to prove her intelligence to others. तो ये तो बिल्कुल ही नहीं होगा. She wanted to be literate, ठीक है, लेकिन यहाँ सबसे ज्यादा मैच कौन सा आ सकता है? She desires self sufficiency. Illiterate ज्यादा वो self sufficient होना चाहती थी, independent होना चाहती थी. That was more important for her to be. That's why she wanted to learn to read and write. She feels pressurized by society. No, ये भी नहीं है. तो ये भी नहीं है. ये option B is correct. Fill in the blank with the appropriate option from those given in brackets. अब brackets में option है उनसे भरने हमें. The grandmother's determination shows that learning has no. grandmother का determination दिखाता है कि learning का क्या नहीं होता. No age limit, gender bias, cultural barriers. No age limit. Age limit. ये हो गया. चलो. Complete the following with a suitable reason. The narrator laughs at her grandmother's decision. SION कटा हुआ है, हम लगा देते हैं. Decision to learn the alphabet at the age of 62 because क्यों? क्यों हंसती है वो? क्यों हंसती है? बिकॉज शी थॉट, बिकॉज द नरेटर थॉट that it was a funny idea of her grandmother to begin learning at the old age of 62. Because the narrator thought that it was a funny idea of her grandmother to begin learning at the age of 62. The narrator thought that it is very funny, it is unusual of a grandmother to think about to read and learn to read and write at the old age of 62, because she did not know that by determination anything is possible at any age. Now, next, list any two qualities displayed by the grandmother. Any two qualities of the grandmother. Point number 4. Any two qualities. Yes. Any two qualities of the grandmother. She was determined. Means firm in a decision. That is one quality. तभी तो लर्न करना सीखती हैं वो. उन्होंने मूड बना लिया था कि उनको मतलब सीखना ही सीखना है. ठीक है, पहला हो गया ये. शी वाज डिटरमिन्ड. नेक्स्ट, एक क्वालिटी और बताओ. एनीबॉडी? शी वाज डेडिकेटेड. इसलिए डेडिकेटेड थी जो कहा उनका किस तरह सीखने के लिए. टू लर्न. एक और क्वालिटी बन जाती है परसिवरेंस. PRSEVERANC. perseverance means continue working despite working hard despite any conditions, irrespective of all the odds. You are continuously working hard without being tired. लगातार निरंतर प्रयास करते रहना, इसको कहते हैं perseverance. So these are very good qualities. If we inculcate these qualities within us today, then nobody can stop us from achieving our goal, whatever we aim for. Yes, it is true, bachcho. This is very factful and very correct. That if you are determined and dedicated towards your goal, first of all, you decide your goal, and if you are focused and dedicated towards your goal, then nothing on the earth can stop you. So, it could be late. Sooner or later, you will reach there. Provided you should be determined and have perseverance. ये नहीं एक बार फेलियर हो गया तो छोड़ दिया आपने. नाउ नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, ये सारे हो गए. हाउ कैन वी से दैट द नरेटर इज मेकिंग assumptions अबाउट her grandmother? assumption कैसे कर रही हो? Why? Because it is because the narrator at first at first laughs at her grandmother thinking how would it be possible for her to learn, one second, to learn to learn to read and write to read at the age of 62. तो उसे लगता है कि ये कैसे पॉसिबल होगा ग्रैंड मदर के लिए कि 62 ईयर्स की ओल्ड एज में वो पढ़ना सीखेंगी. दैट्स व्हाई ये हमें लगता है कि शी वाज मेकिंग अजम्पशंस. वो कयास लगा रही है, कयास लगाना. तब दैट्स व्हाई शी लाफ्स because she did not take her grandmother seriously at first. पहली पहली बार जब her grandmother says that she wanted to learn to read by Saraswati Puja, then she laughs at her that how would it be possible? She is just making castles in the air. हवाई किले बनाने कैसे ऐसा पॉसिबल होगा? Now, next, answer the following questions. So many exercises given. My God. Why do you think? Why do you think the grandmother टू टाइम थिंक आ गया, तो काट देते हैं. व्हाई डू यू थिंक द ग्रैंडमदर फेल्ट एम्बैरेस्ड? एम्बैरेस्ड शर्मिंदा होना. एम्बैरेस्ड का मतलब होता है शर्मिंदा होना. व्हाई डू यू थिंक द ग्रैंडमदर फेल्ट एम्बैरेस्ड टू आस्क समवन एल्स टू रीड टू हर व्हाइल द नरेटर वाज अवे? जब नरेटर गांव में चली गई थी तब ग्रैंडमदर को एम्बैरेसमेंट क्यों फील हुआ किसी और से कहने के लिए कि वो उसके लिए कहानी पढ़ दे? चलो लिख के बताते हैं. सो द आंसर वुड बी, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, it is because it is because she was she was illiterate, illiterate, and being an elderly lady, woman, she felt ashamed in asking anyone else to read the story for her in the absence of the narrator. So this is your answer. It is because she was illiterate. First of all, she was illiterate. And second, being an elderly woman, she felt shy or ashamed in asking any other unknown person, strange person to read the story for her in the absence of her granddaughter, that is narrator. Now, let's move back to the second question. Why does the narrator initially laugh at her grandmother's determination to learn at the age of 62? So, second question, when the narrator says that she was determined to learn to read by Saraswati Puja during the Saturday time, then why does the narrator laugh at her? Why does she laughs at her? Laugh at her. It is because it is because the narrator thought that it was too late unusual and extremely difficult for her grandmother to begin to learn to read and write at the age of 62. That's why it was. She thought that it was a vague idea, absurd idea. Hmm. Now let's see the third question. So first we have answered, second we have answered. What significance does the story Kashi Yatra have in both grandmother's life and the story? क्या इंपॉर्टेंस है काशी यात्रा का ग्रैंडमदर की लाइफ में और स्टोरी में भी? सो थर्ड वाला ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है. What significance does the story Kashi Yatra? So the story Kashi Yatra brings a turning point in of the life of the grandmother. It brings a turning point in the life of the grandmother. Why? As when the narrator was away, comma, she could not read the next episode herself and realizes and here only she realizes the pain, the pain of illiteracy and realizes the pain of illiteracy. उन्हें अपने अनपढ़ होने का पेन का रियलाइजेशन हुआ कि अरे मैं तो पढ़ी लिखी नहीं हूँ. And finally she decides to learn to read and write at any cost. At any cost in order to become क्या independent. So इंडिपेंडेंट बनने के लिए किसी भी हालत में उन्होंने ये डिसाइड किया कि उनको पढ़ना और लिखना सीखना ही सीखना है. Okay. Next. I hope you are noting it down. Please note down. What does the following line tell us about the broader theme of the story? For a good cause, if you are determined, you can overcome any obstacle. Broader theme में क्या कहता है ये? इससे पहले एक और क्वेश्चन रह गया. हाँ, एक मिनट. ये हो गया. What does the grandmother desire to learn the Kannada alphabet reflect about her? जो उनकी डिजायर थी कन्नड़ अल्फाबेट सीखना, ये उसके बारे में क्या बताता है, क्या रिफ्लेक्ट करता है? फोर्थ वाला. To reflect, it reflects a it reflects her determination, self-respect, and self-dependence, by which जिससे वो प्रूव करती हैं proves that there is no age bar or age limit to learn. सीखने कोई उम्र नहीं होती. Next question. What lessons can be inferred from the grandmother's action of touching the narrator's feet? What lesson we can learn? Because the grandmother touched the feet of her granddaughter. So this shows that, where should I write? यहाँ लिख देते हैं, next page पे, पांचवा का. This shows that a teacher deserves respect regardless of age, caste, or race, and knowledge is sacred. Knowledge बहुत ही पवित्र चीज है. Because क्यों? Because it makes the person independent and confident. ये होगा. So this was your fifth question done. Next, what does the following line tell us about the broader theme of the story? For a good cause, if you are determined, you can overcome any obstacle. It tells us that, वही घुमा घुमा पूछ रहा है. It tells us that learning has no age limit, and with our sincere effort and strong will, we can achieve anything. And with our sincere efforts and strong will, we can achieve anything as the grandmother achieves the goal of learning to read and write. As the grandmother achieves her goal of learning to read and write by defeating by defeating the biggest obstacle of her life, by defeating the biggest obstacle of her of her life, that was illiteracy. Okay, how effectively does the story highlight the value of education in supporting personal independence? Means, how can you become personally independent by being educated? So, the okay, we can 1 second. Okay, so we can say that the story very beautifully shows that education is the most potent tool. Potent means powerful. Powerful tool is the most potent tool to gain independence. To gain independence, confidence, and self-respect in the society. Above any social barrier. Social barrier. Above any social barrier. कोई भी सोशल बैरियर हो, मीन्स आप छोटी कास्ट के हो, ये सोशली बैरियर तो है. आपके पास पैसा नहीं हो, आप रूरल एरिया में रह रहे हो, आप आदिवासी हो, but once you are educated, then nobody can stop you or differentiate you on the basis of all these social barriers. You must have seen many people from the tribal area clearing UPSC examination and becoming the top bureaucrat and gaining all the respect in the society. So education is the most important tool. Let me see what is left. Okay, that's it. So all the important thing has been done. One more thing I would like to tell you all, and that is, I think, the key point, important key point, important key point of the story. One second, I'll tell you. Okay, key points of the story. Certain key points, story in a nutshell, you can say. Okay, what are the key points of the story? Sudha Murthy lived with her grandmother at a village in Karnataka. Second point. What is second point? Her grandmother Havva loved to the listening of the story, the serial story, sorry, other story, Kashi Yatre, published in the magazine Karmvira. Okay, then next point, Sudha Murthy used to read the story for her grandmother every week. Next, next point, once Sudha Murthy went to a village to attend the wedding for a week. For a week. The next point, the grandmother felt helpless and dependent. The grandmother felt helpless and dependent. ये सारे इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है और डिपेंडेंट है हो गए फील करती है. She realizes the value of education and decides to learn. Next, okay. At the age of 62, she asks her granddaughter to teach her the Kannada alphabet. Next, she worked very hard and practiced with strong determination. Strong determination. Next, अब क्या आएगा देखिए. Within few months, she learned to read and write. Next, she touches the feet of her granddaughter as a mark of respect for being her teacher. Next, the narrator also feels very proud and emotional on the achievement of her grandmother. And last point, the story gives a message that it is never too late to learn. That's it. That's it. That's it for today. So hope everything is clear to you students. I have explained you the entire story. I have told you the entire summary. I have given the key points of the story. I have solved each and every single question related to the story from your exercise. And also I've given you the meaning of all the hard words. So I've tried my best to give you the full and final solution of the story. And after this, I think there would be no problem at all, provided you should go through it. And in any case, again, I say that if in any case there is any problem, you are free to put your question or ask directly to me. So now I'm signing off. Today's lecture is end now. This is Vishnu Verma. Goodbye to you all. Thank you.